Hi, everybody. Welcome. I am Aleeza Ben Shalom. I run Marriage Minded Mentor. We are a group of dating and relationship coaches whose primary goal is to help you to get over your hurdles and under the chuppah. And we are deeply passionate about working with singles and helping them through the entire process. And we started, by the way, Sarah, this is, I believe, if I counted correctly, webinar number 10.
Wow.
10 webinars. We started webinars the last week in March when we were supposed to have a live event in Brooklyn. And instead of going live in Brooklyn, we're going live online because of our lovely circumstances. And it's been the biggest blessing, I think, for the community and for us as well. I have been able to find new people, new friends, old friends, and connect with people. And really reach a much wider audience than I could have, because like not everybody's from Brooklyn, you know, I'm from Philly, so I'm not even a Brooklyn girl myself. So it's such a pleasure to reach people all around the globe. We had somebody on from Belgium one week, we've got Quebec, and we've had all over the States, Israel,
We had
Australia, everywhere.
Aleeza,
Yeah.
remember when I said, let's do webinars, and you were like, nah. And I said, let's do webinars, and you said, nah. And I said, I really think we should do a webinar. And you're like, no, we're not doing it. You remember that?
I do, but listen, I happen to think you have to like do the right thing at the right time, just like you got to meet the right person at the right time. So I don't know if this would have flown, you know, 6 months ago.
I'm just happy I planted the idea like 6 months ago.
You did.
8 months ago.
You did, and you like kept pushing. So thank you. So we're just so happy to be here with you. Okay, so tonight's webinar is called, what is it called? Relationship Roadmap. Is that the title? It's a relationship roadmap, and we're going to talk about how to go from I like you to I want to marry you. Pretty huge step there. It's like, you know, like, pew! How do we get over that gigantic hurdle? So here's the way that our webinars work for any of our new friends. I'm going to give over some content. Sarah and I are going to engage through the topic. Then after about 15 or so minutes, we are going to open the floor up to Q&A. And Sarah's going to explain how that works. And then we keep going until 9:30, which is a full hour and a half for our, you know, show here. And that's it. Will you explain how the Q&A works so they can, if the questions come up now as we're talking, they'll know what to do?
Sure. Yeah. So if you already submitted a question before the webinar in your registration form, don't worry about it. I got it. When we get to Q&A, I will bring those up. If you have a question now, don't put it in the chat box. Put it in the Q&A box. Depending on what format of Zoom you have, phone or laptop, it's going to look a little different. But find the Q&A box and dump your question in there. And I am keeping track of everything. If you submit a question that's not really relevant to the topic at hand, we likely will not get to it, but I promise it's not personal, right?
Totally not personal. And you might find some of the answers to the questions you're asking in other webinars. So anything related to a relationship roadmap, going from I like you to I want to marry you, those are the kind of questions that we want to hear for this webinar. Okay. I'm so excited. Okay.
Ready?
This is one of my favorite topics. I'm going to tell you why. Because the relationship roadmap for me is all about clarity. Every single step of the way as you're going through the roadmap, we're always hyper focused on clarity. Somebody said, you know, like, well, how could you talk about a roadmap? Like, it's not going to be the same for everybody, Aleeza. It's going to be different for me, then it's going to be for you, then it's going to be for somebody else. And I think the answer is you are right. The roadmap itself is going to look different. Some people's are going to go like that, and some people's are going to go like this, and some people's are going to go all over the map. Everybody is going to experience this roadmap in a different way, but what you're all trying to experience, which is the same thing, is clarity, right? Going from I like you to I want to marry you means I know you're my person. It means I have looked in the entire world and I've gone like this. Nah, nope, not for me. Maybe, no, nope, right? You just looked around the whole world and you said no to everybody else. And then the person that you're with, you looked at them and you're like, could be, I think, you know, I like you, maybe, hey, there's something here. And clarity gets you to the point from I like you to I want to marry you. So I want to talk about what that looks like. And I really have in the works, I really have in the works, yeah, I have in the works a clarity system. Like a system, like I need it to be an online web system. If anybody wants to put in their prayers, we are working on getting it picked up by a group of students to develop it over the next year, please God. And I'm going to give you a taste tonight of that clarity system. So there's 4 parts to this system that I want to explain, and I kind of want to go over it like big picture. And then the truth is everybody's roadmap is different. So like as we get into the nuances, I'm not going to be able to answer every specific question because it's going to be so different, but let me give you the generic tools. So the 4-step process to gaining clarity. I'm going to give you the overview. Number 1 is you've got to be clear about your values, what you want in another person, what you value in having in a relationship. Very important to me. Your values, that's all about you. This is like what you want and need. Now, another person comes into your life and you're like, how do you fit in with my values, with those things that I hold to be true and important to me? Okay. Number 2, irritants, bothers. When you're in a relationship, no relationship is perfect. Every relationship has an amount of things that are perfectly imperfect. You know what I mean? Like they do that thing and they bite their nails and it like drives you up a wall, or they just, I don't know, they have an annoying habit, or they do something and it irks you. It bothers you. And it's like something that's like, I like you, but that thing I don't like so much. Okay. We have an amount of bothers and irritants in a relationship. If you are in a relationship that has 0 bothers or irritants, you're not in a real relationship. You might be in infatuation. You could be in a lot of different things, but you are not in a real relationship if there is nothing that bothers you about another human being, unless you are really the most calm, grounded, centered, even-keeled person that has like no preferences about anything in life, that is just like cool with everything, everyone, all the time. Okay. I don't know anybody like that. If you're like that, ring me. I want to learn from you. Okay. So we've got values, we've got irritants. Number 3 is that we have fears. We come into a relationship, into any situation in our lives with an amount of fear, something that is within us that is going to probably hold us back. And if I'm with you, maybe you trigger my fears and my fear is already up here and you trigger it and now I'm through the roof. But if I'm with you, I've got this fear and you like trigger it not at all. So it's like a fear that's unfounded and it just goes away. So we have to learn a little bit about our fears. And then we're going to talk about bonuses. And bonuses is like, oh my gosh, did you know like there's something there. This like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know that like I didn't even know that was a possibility, or I never thought that wow. I'm just like, oh, that is so nice. And you got to be careful. Why? Because bonuses are sometimes like, if you got a scale in your head and you're like weighing your options, bonuses like start to weigh heavy, and it could be that your values are not so in line, and the bonuses are like, yay, yummy, good, great person, and you're like, yeah, but the values, well, maybe we could make it work. No, you cannot make it work with just bonuses. Bonuses are just that. It's a bonus. When you choose the package, you get your free gift. If you don't choose the package, you don't get the free gift. Like, it doesn't work that way. So it doesn't weigh into the relationship. It's just like a yay, nice surprise that you get. Okay, Sarah, are you ready? Because you and I are going to kind of run through this like real live, give people like a real example now that we gave them like a taste of what we're talking about.
I think so.
Okay, here we go. So I want you to give me a few things in each category, and we're going to like hash it out between us. So in terms of values, what are you looking for in a partner? What values are really important to you? And this could be real or fake. Everybody, These might not be her real values. Just play with me.
So clarifying, this is the values of what I'm looking for in a partner, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Intellectual, easygoing, and passionate about Judaism.
Okay, great. So we got 3. Normally we would give you like a much longer list. Like you give me like 10. I really want like a nice juicy list. But intellectual, easygoing, and Passionate about Judaism. Great. You have to remember those unless I have to like type them down right now so I don't forget.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's say you get into a relationship and you're in a relationship with somebody. Mm-hmm. Hello, old friend from Balakinwood. I have to shout out to Steve. Hi, Steve. He's my neighbor. Okay. So let's say that you are in a relationship with somebody and we're talking about all these values, and give me 2 examples. Okay. Give me an example with somebody that like really matches you and somebody that doesn't. So like if somebody's really matching you in your values, mm-hmm. like how on par, like they're mostly on par with you, right? Like they kind of really fit that description, right?
I don't know. Yes.
Run with it. Okay. But let's talk about somebody that doesn't fit that description. Just okay. For example, you meet a guy, he is not as intelligent as you want him to be intelligent, but he's passionate about his Judaism and he's
easygoing.
Okay. How easy is it going to be for you to like have clarity and go from I like you to I love you? Like what's going to trip you up here?
The fact that he's not super intellectual.
Right. And so how do you move through that as you're going through this dating process? How are we going to get you through, like maybe he's your person, maybe he's not your person?
So here's the thing. Throughout my dating, people have told me that I don't need someone who's intellectual because I have that in friends. So that might not be a need in a husband, which I don't know. I don't really believe, but I guess I'll find out. I think I would like just date him and give it more time and see what our relationship looks like, but knowing that that could be a potential deal breaker.
Okay, so the first step from getting to I like you and maybe I want to marry you is I'm not breaking up with you. Right. I'm just going to give it, I know my values. Knowing your values is the first step. Knowing where somebody falls on your values chart, how they match up, how they align or they misalign with you. And then we're going to just step you through this and say, well, don't break up yet. You might not like this, but we don't know if this is going to work or not work. So you're going to hang in there.
Yeah, but I'm really only doing that because he matches up so well with the easygoing and the passionate about Judaism.
Right. And really we have a list of 10 things and like really we're saying it's the full list. He really like is lacking in this one area or maybe 1 or 2 areas, but the rest of it is really overwhelmingly positive for you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now it comes to the fact you're dating and you're going out for a little while and you're having a nice time. And you're still confused because you're still not sure, like I still like you, but I'm not sure I want to marry you. And now we get to things that irritate or bother you about him. So now I just want to clarify. This is not like what irritates me in life. You know, like I don't want somebody like sits there and picks their teeth, right? Like that. This is about what the person you are dating, that exact human being, what they do to bother you.
Okay.
So give me a few examples of like, again, let's just use 3 as a short list of things that might bother you that he does.
But that is one of them. He picks his teeth.
Okay, great.
I wouldn't have thought of it before I met him, but he picks his teeth.
Okay, great.
Again, I'm just putting this out there. This is not real life. These are good examples that may or may not be someone else's real life.
Okay, give me number 2.
Okay, he picks his teeth. He has a really high-pitched voice.
Okay.
And he's not necessarily super polite. Like when it comes to, you know,
manners
yeah. Like social etiquette.
Social etiquette.
No, not social cues. He's fine with social cues, but more like etiquette. Like, you know, I was brought up a certain way in Canada. And he doesn't necessarily have that sophistication, I guess. Okay. So now what we do is we're going through this I like you, do I want to marry you process. We're thinking about this is really who he is. So the first thing is the things that bother you about a person, we're not looking to change them. Like this is who he is. Maybe he will or won't stop those behaviors or he will or won't improve. But this is really where he's holding today. And if we're going to be really intellectually honest about this is the person that you're with. Got all these great values, and these are the things that bother you. So now the question that I start to ask is, well, how much does it bother you? Like, you know, like a little bit or like
oh, driving me crazy, right? You hear the difference, you know?
Yeah.
So what we start to do as we're trying to have this clarity is go through this process and figure out how much this bothers you so that we know how to gauge, well, the values are there, although we're missing, you know, one of your top one or two things. And now the irritants are there. And now I'm kind of bothered by some things. So like, I kind of like you, but I'm kind of bothered by you. Okay.
Right.
Now, before we make any decisions, when we jump to Chuppah or we jump off the dating track and go bye-bye, we have to talk about fears. So can you name, doesn't have to be three, it could be one or two different dating relationship fears that you, Sarah, personally have. Not that's related to the guy you're dating, not that's related to anybody else in the world, specifically related to you.
Okay. I'm afraid he's like just going to break up with me out of nowhere. Like
not him, but whoever the him is gonna, okay?
Just in general, when I date, I'm afraid that the guy is just gonna like walk away without me seeing it coming.
Okay, great.
And I am afraid of divorce.
Okay, great. Okay. So it doesn't matter what guy you're gonna be with, right? Any guy you're gonna be with, this fear is within you.
Yeah.
And now the question is, how much does he trigger this, right? So if I would say, hey, Sarah, how much does this guy trigger it in you? And you're like, wow, like not at all, right? Like,
yeah,
I carry that with me, but it doesn't come up with him. It's still my fear. I own it. It's mine. I didn't let go of it. It didn't disappear. He personally is not a trigger for me. So that's really wonderful. When you have a fear that your partner does not trigger, that's great, because you're going to work on your fear for the rest of your life. But if your partner's not consistently triggering you, it's not going to be constantly upsetting to you.
What if he does trigger it though?
So then the question is, to what degree? Like, is it like through the roof and every day this is coming up and every day it's like, well, I like you, but like maybe this isn't going to walk out. And he's like half one in the door, out the door. And you like don't have any stable feelings about the relationship. And you're feeling just like you're triggering every fear. Like, what, you're going to probably just leave me and divorce me anyway. So why should we even try to give this a shot? So if it's triggering you on a daily or weekly or consistent basis, then it's a red flag. It doesn't mean break up. It just means like,
how do I know if it's him that's the trigger? I guess if I have other relationships and some are more, you know, triggered than others, fine. But if I don't have that experience, how do I know if it's really him or if it's just a really bad me issue?
That's a good question. So if you struggle with anxiety or depression or have a difficult time dealing with stress or navigating relationships, it might be a you issue, and it might be also by them, but like we might not be able to decipher. And that's more of a either coaching or therapy, dig into it a little bit deeper kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, and if you haven't been in a relationship and you don't necessarily have this like, you know, fear or normally stressed or whatever, probably it's that person that's triggering you. Like if you think about friends, everybody has friends, family members, other people in your life that trigger you when you have other fears, right? So think of a different fear that you have and how other people trigger you. And then you apply it to your dating life and be like, oh, that's that feeling. Oh, that's what happens when something's upsetting to me, when I have a fear and you're triggering to me.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify, someone's chatting in the comments, girl, you know, I love that. So again, we're just role playing here. I'm actually helping Aleeza write her program, but we're just role playing here. So whatever I'm saying is what you might potentially say or what a client might potentially say as you're going through this process.
Right. And it's all the things that I've heard and all the stories that I've shared with Sarah so that we can pull together all of this information so we can get it across to you. All right. Now we're up to bonuses, Sarah. Do you have any bonuses that you're thinking of that you're like, ooh?
I do.
Tell me.
To travel.
Ooh.
And he's a chef. Okay, those two are real.
Okay. He loves to travel and he's a chef, right? Okay. So because you love to travel and that, like, I hear it triggers you like with that soft spot in your heart. You're like, ooh, and the chef part, you're like, good food and travel, like I'm yours forever. But no. You can't be his forever unless all of these other things actually line up. So then we have to go back.
So good.
I know. The bonuses are so good. Here's the problem. Your brain starts to turn to mush when we talk about bonuses, because your brain's like, bonuses. And you get in this like super happy place. And then you're like, oh, but like values, like, what did we say? Intellectual. Like, he's not what I can't hold the conversation that I want to hold with him. Like, never. I'm not gonna be able to have that kind of conversation with him. Nope. You could have it with your friends, but you're never having it with him. You could have a different kind of conversation. You could have a heart to heart with him because he's probably a heart guy if he's not as much of a head guy. And you're like, yeah, but I can't have those, you can't have those bonuses in the back of your mind going, but like, that makes it better. That makes it okay. Bonuses go in a special spot.
So at what point do bonuses come into play? And how do you really take them out when you're going through the process of dating? Like, are you not supposed to look at the good stuff?
No. We make a whole category of bonuses. Like, I want all the juicy bonuses written down. I'm looking for like a box. Like, I want you to like write them all down and like stick them in a box and like close it and hold on to it, right? When you get married, they're yours to keep. If you don't get married, this is just an addition. This is just your free gift. This is for you. The most special thing when you go to the store and you buy your $100 or $1,000 couch, we're going to give you your free gift. You're not buying the couch for the free gift. You're buying the couch because you want the couch. The free gift is a bonus. So these things you have to look at as a bonus, because otherwise you'll be confused and then you won't get the value you want, or you'll be irritated living with another human being who has these habits that drive you up a wall. And you're going to try to justify it by telling me like, oh, he likes to travel and he's a chef. Let me just tell you, when he's doing those irritating things with the most delicious meal after you've been on your trip, and like you can't even have a discussion with him at the table, and you never owned up to accepting who he was, you're going to be sitting there going, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. But if you decide, I know who he is, okay, I'm not getting that intellectual piece with him. I'm not going to be able to have those kind of discussions. I could respect him nonetheless because of all these other traits and all these other things about him. Okay, good. And I know those things that bother me about him, that irritate me, and they bother me. I think I'm going to gain the skills, or at least I have some of the skills to know how to manage them, because we're going to live together for a lifetime. And like, you always got to deal with irritating stuff. And you know, those fears, like to whatever degree he triggers them, okay, I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on myself so that we have less conflict there, because that's my stuff. I own it. It's not really his. He's not doing that on purpose to me, and I just carry this baggage with me. And then you go from like, I like you, to like, I accept you. I know you. I understand you. I connect with you. I want to marry you. That's the process.
I have 3 questions. Number 1, so are you saying that, let's say travel wasn't one of my values, right? Then that wouldn't be a bonus. Bonuses are only things that are not values. Like if we click on so many values, that's a good thing, but that's what I'm focusing on, not the added stuff that weren't necessarily values to me.
Correct.
Okay. Second thing, with the irritant stuff, if we end up getting married, obviously we love each other. Like, is he not going to change for me? Like, obviously I don't want anyone to change for me, but like, will he change for me? Or will he change because he knows how much it bothers me?
Right. In an ideal society, sure. In reality, no. What bothers you, there's this contradictory thing. What bothers you is going to get more irritating over time, because they like keep doing it, even if you tell them you might not like it or that you ask them to shift. And at the same time that it bothers you more, you're going to actually start to get used to it. Like, that's their thing. Oh, that's that thing I don't like. Oh, here we go again, sweetheart. Okay. I got this. Sure. No problem. I can handle this. Right. So you're going to go through the process, and it's going to get better and worse simultaneously. Like, you're going to have more skills usually to cope and handle it, but it's going to get more intense over time.
So can I, while we're like if I'm aware of it, but I just choose to ignore it and pretend that doesn't exist, is that okay?
No.
Oh.
Got to own up to it. Own up to it. I like when we're real. Put all your cards on the table. Acknowledge what's sitting on the table. I'm not asking you to love it. You can be like, this is the part that I love about you least. I love this least. But I know it's your thing and like, whatever, it's not my thing, you know, like I love you. I don't love that behavior that happens.
Okay. I think I got it.
Great. Did you have a third question or that was it?
That was the third one.
Okay, great. All right. Are we ready for some Q&A?
I think we are. All right. First up, what if everything is there besides the bonuses?
What is everything is there besides the bonuses? So you have the values, whatever the irritants are, and the fears, and there's not necessarily any bonus. Bonuses are just bonuses. Just your free gift. Like if they come with something that you didn't think you wanted or needed or expected and you're just pleasantly surprised by it, then that's like a bonus to you. If there's nothing like extra that's there that you recognize, that's okay. You'll probably find a bonus later on when you get married and you're like, oh, I didn't realize that was such a bonus, but that's my bonus. Yeah, you might not see it beforehand. That's possible.
Okay, so we got a question here that I don't totally understand, and I know you don't love this, but you might understand it, and if not, I want whoever submitted this to rephrase it. How does a woman match up her values and bonuses to a man's specific currency?
Hang on. To his No, let's ask for a rephrase.
Okay.
It's a cool question.
Right. I feel like there's a good one there. I just don't understand.
There's something good there. Yeah, okay. Clarify for us.
Rephrase that question and submit it again. What if he has all of your values, but you're not attracted to him?
Oh, this one's so hard. Okay, here we go. This is so hard. When it's like matching up on paper, but not in person, right? Because like everything is there, but like in person, you're like, I really want to like you, but like you're not at all anything of a look that I ever even considered. And it's like, oh, it's so painful. Okay, so attraction works like this.
I feel like everyone's had at least one of those.
I'm feeling the pain for you. I'm like so feeling the moment. Okay, so attraction works like this. If everything is there in the values and it's strong and it's good and it's solid and it's real, I need you to work really hard with me on the attraction piece. Attraction works like this. If you are repulsed, like when I look at you, I can't even, like I could not wake up next to that face. I can't, I don't know, it's your eyes, it's your teeth, it's your face shape, it's just your persona, it's your skin tone, like anything. I'm not like making it up. Whatever bothers you about their hair color, like if it bothers you to a degree where you just cannot even look at them, we have a problem. That's not being attracted, that's being repulsed. Okay? If you are repulsed, I probably can't do anything to help you. So it's probably just like, I wish it would work out, sweetheart, because man, you got a great person, but it's not going to happen. Put them aside. Anything other than completely repulsed, even if you're mostly not attracted, it goes into the category of, I don't know. It's like maybe, neutral, parv, in between. And a maybe goes either to a yes or to a no. And what you need to do, first of all, you need to look at them physically and find one feature that you like. If you could find one feature that you like, then you hyper focus on it. If you happen to like their eyes, then like don't look at the rest of their face. Or you love their smile. When they talk, look at their mouth, sometimes, not always their eyes. Or you're sitting there at the table and you're like, oh, they have the most lovely hands. Like, okay, great. I don't even care what the feature is. And if you could find 3 features that you like, right? There's plenty that you don't like. We know that list. Fine, it exists. Tell me something you like. Anything. They have nice eyebrows. Like it makes, again, anything. Give me anything that you could grasp onto. And then hyper focus on that when you're with them. Continue to get to know the inside and see if the outside starts to become softer. Starts to kind of, I'm not going to say that you're going to jump into the attraction boat, but that it kind of neutralizes where you're like, okay, I'm kind of getting used to the look that I didn't want to get used to because I didn't want to get used to that. And then you really have to hyper focus on the things that you like internally and externally. And with intention, say, I'm looking to move the needle and I want to move it closer towards actually connecting with them. and it's a work in progress. You should give yourself twice or 3 times as long to move through a relationship like that. I've seen people move through it and they go all the way to chuppah, and I've seen people work really hard to move through it and they're like, I can't, but I gave it my all and I know for sure I can. If you're, when in doubt, go out or date them till you hate them. You got to keep going. You got to keep going if there's some potential that's there. Awesome. Especially all those values.
So I was focused on the Q&A, but did you say the monkey story?
No.
Do you want to say it really quickly?
Okay, Sarah loves this story. There was a couple, and I work as a dating coach, not as a matchmaker, but every so often I stick couples together because it's just, the best thing and it's a great idea and I do it. But not professionally, just for fun. So the best way I make matches is coaching. Okay, now that we're clear, I put these two together and I was like, you got to go out, and like, why should we go out? We need good reasons. And I was like, because you're the same human being. You're just, like you're you and he's him. And like, that's it. You just have to meet them. You're similar in personality and style and how you grew up, and like your stories match. Everything about you matches to me. When I look at you, you look like a match to me. And they're like, okay, that's a pretty convincing reason. We'll give it a shot. And they went out a bunch of times. And there was something great. The values, Shazam, like nailed it, home run, nailed it. And she came back and she's like, Aleeza? I was like, yeah. And she's like, I got to tell you something. It's been a little while, like 3 months. She's like, I'm struggling here. I'm like, yeah. And we've been talking about this. She goes, but he kind of looks like a primate. Like he looks like a monkey. And she was right. I was like, oh, you're right. Like the dark hair and the beard and the facial structure. And I was like, he does. You're right. And she's like, I didn't expect, like, that's not my look. And I was like, I know, I hear you. I was like, but he's kind of cute also. And she was like, but he looks like a cute monkey. And I was like, right, right, I know. I was like, listen, all the values are there. Everything else is there. The in-person is there. Like, I need you to just give it longer. I need your eyes to have time to see if they become accustomed to him. And like he becomes your cute, sweet little monkey, or if he just looks like a primate that you don't want to go anywhere near. And she did. She gave it twice as long. They dated for over 6 months, and she got married, and that's her little monkey. And she still jokes about it. It's like one of those inside jokes, and it's like, yeah, but like it's true. If you met him, you'd think the same thing. It's what it is. So yeah, you really do need to give it time.
All right. I don't know if you're going to want to answer this question, but you are going to love this woman. Would you judge the alignment between two people in percentage? Say if person A travel is 100% and for me it's 60%, would that do it? What percentage do you realize this value won't match? Like, let's say it's 70 fine, but 50 is not, or is it more of a dichotomy like yes, no?
Okay.
Do you love this woman or do you love this woman?
We gotta talk. Okay, so you read my brain, and that's a part of like the actual system itself and how I developed yeah, literally. So I'll give you, since you asked the real question, I'll give you the real answer. Basically it goes no more than, what did we say? About 20%. 20% apart is within a range that's comfortable. So if you're at 90% and they're at 70, you're going to be comfortable, or if they're a little more, right? So that's okay. When you get to 30% or 40%, that's kind of like the yellow zone, and you get to like 50, 60, 70% apart, then we're talking red zone. Red zone doesn't mean break up. Red zone just means like caution, there is something going on here. Stop, take a look at this. Don't turn a blind eye. Don't pretend it doesn't exist. There's something going on.
And Aleeza did not pay me to say this, but I will say that if you're in a relationship and your brain works like that, it is definitely worth investing in clarity. It's how, it's probably the only reason I'm engaged right now, because Aleeza worked me through clarity, and my brain needed that structure and that understanding of percentages and numbers and all of that stuff. So highly recommend.
Yeah, and Mazel Tov, she's getting married in August, everybody. Everybody shower her with Mazel Tovs.
Do you want me to put my registry link? Just kidding. You can tell me later. Okay. I like this question. Regarding irritants, when is the right time to tell a girl that I'm dating that there are sounds that really irritate me, like when her or other people crunch on chips or other crunchy foods, or chew gum or tap on noisy keyboard? This sound irritation is not specific to her and exists for many people, and sometimes the girl I'm dating triggers me. When or how is the right time to tell her? I don't want her to think I'm weird or crazy, and I have a fear of losing her. So I'm just going to add my own 2 cents here without knowing who's asking this. But I'm assuming this is not like a standard irritant. It's something that's deeper than standard. I've definitely heard of this before, where like noises like this are
it's
triggering.
A sensory, yeah, it's a triggering sensory input. I was on a client call the other day, and he had like a water bottle, and it was like this. Can you hear this?
Yes, it's annoying.
It's annoying, right? And I let it go on for like, the whole time while he was talking. And then when it was my turn, and I was like, I have to mention something. And I'm not, like, I don't like to be so direct, but I have to let you know, like, you're tapping a water bottle. And for me, I could, like kind of focus through it. But when you're on a date, you're not going to want to do that. And he's like, oh, I didn't even know I was doing it. And I said, I know. I said, and that's actually part of the problem. It's a nervous behavior that one does when they're slightly uncomfortable. He's like, no, I'm not uncomfortable. I was like, okay, then it's just a nervous behavior that people tend to do, which they can do, or they that bouncing the leg where it goes like this up and down all the time. So sometimes the behavior is because they're feeling something, and sometimes it's a habitual behavior. And we talked about the fact that behaviors like that and those kinds of pattern movements actually regulate our body. They actually ground us, and that's why people do them, if you like research sensory and other things. So you have to do things to ground yourself in other ways before the date. And if you're on a date with somebody and they're doing that, you have to have a close enough relationship to, you don't start with like, it's all about me. Because when you take it on you, like, then we don't want it to be like, oh, you have a thing about this. Just be like, oh, do you mind not to tap the water bottle? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And then like 5 minutes later, they're like, tap, tap, tap. And you're like, this, you're like, and they're like, oh, sorry. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be a little bit playful with them, and a little bit kind of just like easygoing about it. You don't like call a loud attention to it. Like, call it out, move on, keep the connection going so that we don't get side railed or like just thrown off by this thing, whatever the thing is. If they chew noisy though with gum or food or whatever, like, you are going to be sitting next to them at the table, and they're going to chew like that.
Do it.
They're going to do that the whole time. So if you cannot live with somebody like that, you've got to marry a quiet chewer, or you sit at the opposite end of the table always and forever. Even when you go to the restaurant, you make sure it's a 6-person table and you sit as far away as possible.
I mean, that's like super old school. They used to do that in the 1800s.
Right.
But the question was specifically, at what point is it appropriate to bring that up?
Right. So if you're on a first date and somebody is like, I'm giving the water bottle example, like tapping, or clicking. You could just be like, oh, like, do you mind not to do that? Like, whisper it, or like make it like a little like, oh, like it's not socially normal. That's not what they should be doing. So you like, it's not your fault that bothers you. That's not something that people should necessarily be doing. It's just sometimes things that happen when people are nervous. So you could call it out sweetly on a first date. But if you are one of those people that are direct and you're like, hey, could you stop tapping the water bottle? Because it's really bothering me. And like, I'd like to like you, but I can't because that's getting in my way. Too much, like, cut it back.
What differentiates something like that from an irritant where you just have to accept it and assume it's never going to change?
That and an irritant that's never going to change. Well, that might never change, by the way. You might always have to tell them.
Okay. So you could still speak up, but don't assume that it's just going to go away just because it's because it's unconscious from them. They don't even know that they're doing it half the time, or more than half the time. Right.
It's like it becomes their thing.
Gotcha.
And if you're not sure if it's their thing, you can just go out with them longer. When in doubt, go out. Keep going out until you figure it out.
Awesome. What if a value of yours and an irritant and a fear are in conflict with each other? For example, I value loyalty, and this guy I'm dating has close female friends, which is an irritant, which is a trigger for me in my fear of being betrayed.
Yeah, you can't date him.
Really?
Can't date him. If he has friends and relationships, he is going to value them. And he's gonna, like, you can, but you'd have to really work on yourself. I have several friends, I'm just gonna give you an example. I'm jumping in here. Several friends who married men who have other friends that are women, or even they're in social circles or work or other things. And for the women, it is extremely triggering. And it didn't go away. Not after 5 years, not after 10 years, not after 15, not after 20 years of marriage. It didn't go away. That is something within them that even as they've worked on it, it just really bothers them.
But if we said irritants and fears are me issues, right? And values are important. Like, I think
irritants are specifically related to them.
I know, but I think the question is how much does it trigger you, and how tolerant can you be? Like, if all the other values match up and this is an irritant and fear, then it's a choice, right? Like, obviously keep dating that person.
Listen, the example you gave is like loyalty, right? So with loyalty, it like calms your brain because you're like, but he's loyal. He's never going to cheat on me, right? But like, he's always with these people. So like that example, you might be able to make that specific example work. That's an example where the value overrides the irritant and the fear, because it just, every time it comes into your mind, you're like, oh, that's a me issue. It's not a him, right? If he didn't have loyalty and there was a different value, then I would say, maybe not.
Right.
Like, there's the guys that have the wandering eyes. They're with you and they look at you, and then a girl walks by and like their eyes go like this, and you're like, who are you looking at? They're like, nothing. And you're like, I saw that. You know? But you can't be, she couldn't be with somebody like that. That would be a problem. And for some people, maybe it doesn't bother them, or maybe they know how to handle it better.
Right.
She's not handling it well. It's just that's the thing that irritates me.
Right. Right. Can I just throw out something else that we've talked about in doing clarity, that sometimes you can have a value and an irritant that seem to, I'll give an example. You can have respect as a value, right? And part of respect to you means showing up on time, being where you're supposed to be at the right time, because if not, you're disrespecting someone else's time, and that's not okay. And if, you have a Yakish person, of someone of German descent, dating a Persian, that could be a little bit challenging. And for the German
what we're talking about, just want to clarify what that means. Like somebody who's like, to the minute on time or 5 minutes early, and the other person who's like 2 hours late, and they're like, party time, let's get started. I'm ready. Here I am.
Right. So if we're talking about, let's say I'm the German woman, right? That like of German descent, and I'm super on time, and respect is like over here on my value list. And we actually match up in terms of respect. He is a very respectful person, but he's always late. And I just don't get it. Like, how can you actually respect other people if you're always late? So sometimes we just have to understand context and cultural normalities, because in the Persian community, like if you show up on time, you're rude. You know what I mean? Like, you can't come to a wedding when it's called for because no one's ready yet. And that's not a bad thing. That is the culture. And everyone knows when a wedding invitation says 6, hopefully they'll start around 7:30. So their showing up late is not necessarily a lack of disrespect, though it may be an irritant. So just being aware of what's what.
And I think it's a great example because it's so nuanced. And so you're like, oh, but like, it's not respectful. And you're like, oh, but that's not respect. That's culture. And then we're like sorting out the pieces to the puzzle and deciding what bucket everything goes in.
Right. Okay. Is there a problem if I barely have any irritants?
So yes and no. Yes, because you probably don't know them well enough. No, because maybe you're not somebody who's highly irritable. Like, are you also not irritated by your friends or your family members or your coworkers so much? If in general, like most people don't irritate you, then I would also expect your future spouse to not irritate you as much. If other people irritate you to a normal degree, then you probably don't know them well enough, or you're in the honeymoon phase, or it's infatuation. But Rav Noach Weinberg from Esha Torah always said, if you cannot name 5 things, 5 that irritate you or bother you about this other person, don't walk away, run, because you don't really know them. And it's a danger zone because you might be wearing rose-colored glasses and imagining a situation to be better than it is.
Awesome. I like this. What if he has all or most of your values, but he just really, really reminds you of someone you just don't like or can't get along with? It could be that he speaks like them or he looks like them or something like that.
That is a really good question. That is tough. Like, that is really, really, really tough. So we kind of have to play a little bit of a brain game with you. And instead of looking for what you like about him, because there's enough that's there, what we need to look for is, in what ways is he different from this other person? Okay, so he's so similar in all these ways, and your brain is making all these similar connections, and it's like, don't do that, I don't like what, right? Now we're going to disconnect that by going, how's he different? Looks, personality, attitude, everything. Give me all the differences. Write a big, fat, juicy, long list, like a really long list. And every time you think of him, be like, oh yeah, and he's like this, but he's not like that, but he's not like that. Oh, he's so different. Oh, he's so different. We need your brain to be trained into, he looks different, he sounds different, and to stop making the similarity match, because your brain is probably hyper focusing on that. And I'm sure there are plenty of differences if you actually dig into it. And that's what we need to get your brain over it. Awesome. That's, by the way, new question. Never heard that one before.
That's a big deal. Just saying. Okay. Is it important to me to love the girl I'm dating before we get engaged? Like, do I need to be able to say I love you and really feel and mean it? I want to say it and mean it and not fake it just because she wants to hear it. I've heard that real love can only be experienced and understood after marriage, in which we really give to each other. Could I please answer this one because I love it? And then you'll fill in after, because I'm sure you'll have stuff to fill in. Okay, so I'm not going to say when my fiance said, Ani ohev otach. He's Israeli. But let's just say it was like a lot sooner than I expected. I was just like, no, you didn't say that. It's like, what? He's like, Ani ohev otach. And I was like, no, you don't. And I was like, what do you mean to say by that? And at this point, like, I was barely speaking Hebrew. He was barely speaking English. And he goes, I want to be your best friend. Like, I like spending time with you. I was like, are you trying to say you like me? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, you're not saying I love you. Like, okay, we're good. Because in Hebrew, there's no differentiation between the two. And so
I love that. Wait, take a moment there. There's no differentiation between I like you and I love you.
Yeah.
There's something in that. We're going to explore that later. Keep going.
Yeah, but it's not fun when you're dating and you're trying to figure out where you are in a relationship. Anyway, when I remember talking to you, Aleeza, and being so frustrated because it was just like a short while that we were dating, but I have friends who I'm the type of person, if I click with a friend, I click and right away we're good. And I'll hang up the phone for my girlfriends and be like, okay, love you, bye. We do it all the time, right? And it's not like an, oh my gosh, I love you, but it's like there's this personal connection there, and there's a love of some sort. And I also had this idea that real love can only be after years of marriage and giving to each other and in a different kind of relationship. And I was like, how could this be love? But I like stopped myself from saying I love you when I hang up with him. And you said to me, you're like, there are different stages of love. And don't hold yourself back from saying something that you want to say. So I know this isn't exactly your question, but I want to say, like, in America, in this American culture, and especially if you like watch Hollywood movies or something like that, love is totally dramatized. And we feel like, both from a like Hollywood perspective and even a Jewish perspective, we feel like love is this really enormous thing that we have to like get to, and it takes time and whatever. And there is a certain level of love that is that, but it doesn't start off that way. Aleeza, you can fill in.
Okay, first of all, love your answer. And yes, everything that the questioner said about this, you know, like the love really comes later, the growth. Yeah. Yes. And correct, Sarah. There are different stages of love. And so there is this young love. There's the new love. There's the, like, I like you so much. It's like, I love you. So like, it's like a little bit of a beginner's love. And that, it's not any less significant, so to speak, for the quantity of time you've been together, right? So if you've been together 50 years, when you say I love you, I need to hear I love you. When you've been together for 10 years and like you've gone through all these ups and downs and these trials and tribulations together, and you're like, I love you, sweetheart. Like there is nobody I want to go through this life with except you, right? There's that kind of I love you. Like the definitions of the types of I love you are so varied. So on one hand, I want to tell you, no, you don't need to say I love you before you get to the chuppah. You can totally get to the chuppah and love can come later. But I also think that I love you can come earlier than that. And it is an expanded form of, I really, really, really like you. And I want to spend the rest of my life with you. When you feel like that, that means I love you. That means that even if you're not comfortable saying it, or you don't know how to say it, or you're not like, if you didn't grow up in a family where you said, I love you, like in my house, my kids come in the house, hey, I love you, how are you doing? Hug, kiss, mwah, mwah, right? They leave, bye, see you later, love you, right? Every time. My teenagers, don't tell them, shh, they still say I love you. Like it's, you know, like
adorable. I love seeing it every time.
They don't know it's not normal. They don't know that like most teenagers are like, bye, you know, like they check out, like mine are like, bye, Emma, I love you. Like, and they wouldn't even think, don't tell them, you better not tell them this. Nobody better tell them. They wouldn't even think that I love you is something embarrassing or uncomfortable to say because it's so normalized. So if you did not grow up with I love you, it is not going to feel normal to you. If you grew up with I love you, you might feel like, well, I know what real love is. And like, this isn't like love like that, but there's a form of love that's there. So I really want people to think about the stages and development of love. And yes, sometimes other people need to hear, I love you means like, I'm picking you. Sweetheart, I picked you. Out of everybody in the whole entire world, I picked you. I want you for me and me for you. When you're at that stage, you could say, I love you. It might not, it might be fake it till you make it. It might be get your lips used to forming the words, I love you. You should practice saying, I love you just to yourself 10 times a day for the next month. You will be another human being. Even, I don't even need you to mean it. Like, no, mean it. Just like, I love you. 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 Great. Just say it like that. Just say it. It's going to sound weird the first time you say it. It's going to feel weird the first time you say it. On day number 20, you're going to be like, I love you, 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 I love you, love you. It's just going to come out so much easier because your mouth has formed the words, your brain has heard it. It's just a part of you. So practice saying I love you. That's my homework, by the way. Homework, men or women. I don't care, men. We say I love you. The women need to hear it so much more. You need to be used to saying it.
Awesome.
Not to say that you don't, but just, you know, just saying.
All right. Being attracted to the girl I'm dating is important to me. It seems like I'm not so attracted to most of the girls that I'm getting set up with, though I do see other girls in my community that I'm super attracted to and I wish I was getting set up with them. Am I missing something here? All I can say is I feel you so hard. I had 10 years of that.
It is really difficult. So I would ask yourself, the girls that you're attracted to, who and what are they looking for? And do you match that? And if you don't match that, where don't you line up? I have had guys that have told me, Aleeza, I want to match what I want. And I said, okay, great. Well, what you want, tell me what they want. And they list it. I'm like, okay, where don't you match up? They're like, here, here, and here. I'm like, well, what do you want to do about it? I've had guys get personal trainers. I've had guys get personal shoppers. I've had guys learn how to have their posture better and straighter and taller. Like, you name it. They like know, they know what they want, and they know what they want doesn't want them. And they want to become worthy of that. Not that it's worthy, but like they want to become eligible for that. That's important to them. And they don't want to become it for the sake of becoming it. They want to really internalize it and create a shift within them. If you want to do that, I'm okay. I buy into that because it's just a part of becoming who you desire to be. If you're doing it just to get somebody, but like it's not that you're going to become it, then I have a problem with it. I hope you hear the difference between those two.
Thanks. I'm a crazy backseat driver. Guys driving really bothers me. Should I bring it up at the beginning or just keep my fingers crossed and hope for the best? It's not a control thing. It's usually a safety or I just know the rules better thing.
I'm kind of with you, sister. I'm so with you. I had one date where I had my hands like gripped to the side of the car and I was like, I love you, God. I love you, God. Please, God, protect us. Please protect us. And I was like shaking the whole ride. And I got out of the car and I was like literally physically shaking. It was horrible. The date was over before it even began. Yes. So you should probably not. The reason not to say something is probably that there's nothing they're going to do about it. Probably. Because I've seen crazy drivers and I've been in cars with people and some people, like I once said something to somebody like, oh, you know, like maybe you could go a little slower or maybe like a little less, you know, jerky. And they're like, oh, I'm from New York. Like this is just how we drive. And I was like, okay. You know, like brace yourself. Like, oh gosh. So, yeah, if there's just something going on and it's so hard. Like on one hand, I want to tell you, say something, but on the other hand, it's going to make them so self-conscious, whatever they're doing, it might get 10 times worse. So it might not actually help your situation. You could just show up and meet places, you know, like you can be the designated driver, you know. I don't know.
Is it wrong to, I feel like it almost, like it can't hurt if you say something as long as you make it about you, not about him. Like, I wouldn't say, can you not, you know, can you make sure that you drive normally, but more like, I get a little freaked out. You know, I'm an by the rules kind of gal. And, you know, I really like it when my date drives.
I like that. I'm a by the rule, not freaked out. Don't make yourself a crazy person.
Yeah.
I'm a by the rules kind of gal. And so, you know, but if you say that before you ever get into the car with him, I think it's a problem. I think it's more like you get in the car, you go somewhere and you're like, oh, that was a horrible ride. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to say something before we get in the car again. Because why are you going to say it beforehand? We don't know if it's going to be a problem.
But I feel like if you say it beforehand, then it's not personal.
That's true. That's a really good point. Like,
take your
listen,
pick, okay?
no. The indirect side of me, which is my like natural Aleeza side of me, I work on being direct. Everybody's like, oh, you're so friendly and you're so outgoing. No, I'm really indirect, but I've trained myself to be direct, but I'm not really direct. I'm intentionally direct, but I am naturally non-confrontational. So like, I wouldn't bring this up. I would just sit there and be like, I love you, God. Please get me there safe. Please make sure, do I have gum? Maybe if I chew gum, I won't be nauseous by the time we get there. Like I would just deal with it all on my own and internalize it. Now, I've learned sometimes to actually speak up and say something. So yeah, if you're comfortable to say something, do it in a way that doesn't make you a crazy person and doesn't put them at blame. How's that?
Awesome. What do I do if I'm afraid of emotional intimacy and that stops me from going from I like you to I love you in a relationship?
Yeah, there are a lot of people in that boat. You are totally normal. Oh, so the clients that I've worked with that struggle with this, it's really difficult. And they usually end up dating for twice or three times as long in whatever circles you're in. Like I work with secular, religious, everywhere in between. So whatever the normal length of time is that you date, I would tell you double or triple it in terms of emotionally buying in, being vulnerable, and showing up in a relationship. And even then, it's going to be really hard. Like some people carry it into the first couple years of marriage. Like it's just so ingrained in them. So for anybody that it's so severe for, really, it's a therapy issue. It's not a coaching issue, and it's not a relationship issue that your partner can solve for you. Because even when you are with the most perfect human being for you, you're still not going to show up if that's your thing. So take ownership of that. If you're somewhere in the middle, it's, again, we don't want somebody else. We don't want your partner pushing you along. You have to kind of like, the partner has to be there to like gently draw you in. But I have to tell you, it takes a lot of effort. It's so much effort for that person to try to draw you in. And it's so much effort for you to be pulled in. It's a really difficult process. So you really have to read a lot of books, watch videos, TED Talks, make sure you do have a good therapist or somebody to guide you, and or a coach, and open yourself up emotionally to other people in your life. Forget about the person you're dating. Start with other people in your life. And then when you're in a dating relationship, you can transfer to them. If you're currently in a relationship, then we got to kind of do like, you know, not emergency, but like urgent, you know, jump on this now and help you move through it. I've worked with a lot of clients through it. So if it's something that you're struggling with, we can talk. Or one of my coaches, I have a coach, Alana Brown. She is also excellent. She also has a psychotherapy background, a coaching background, a matchmaking background, and she also specializes in these things.
And she's from Toronto, and Toronto people are awesome. So.
And there you have it. Zoop.
All right. Is it okay to compare the current person you're dating to other people you have dated previously?
Oh, we never had this question either, and I like it.
We didn't, but we did talk about it when we were working on clarity.
Okay, here's the deal. It's an Aleeza answer, yes and no, okay?
Brilliant.
For purposes of understanding yourself, understanding the relationship, yes. For purposes of connecting to that person more or less, no. So I once had, and I still have it somewhere in my Google, you know, form life somewhere, it lives, but it is a diagram of different people that she dated, all of her value areas. I was even doing this before Sarah. Sorry, I have to show you this. It's the coolest thing. All of her values that she wanted. And like, literally it was like, like a bar, like a chart with like all the zigzag, like more or less how much they connected. And you could see, and we had a whole pattern. And what we noticed,
so cool.
It like blew my brain when I saw this. I was like, oh my gosh, it blew my mind. It was so amazing. It was so amazing. So what we found out is there was this one area, and I'm trying to remember what it was. Maybe it was like vulnerability or something, where it tripped her up every time. It's like the guys that she was dating, they were never vulnerable or open with her, and they weren't willing to like build the connection, or she had a hard time being open and vulnerable with them, but it happened with everybody. And so when she got into this new relationship, she's like, Aleeza, it's happening again. And she was able to identify it as something that wasn't lacking in him, but something that was lacking in her, because it was a repeated pattern. So for the sake of understanding yourself, it's okay. For the sake of like building your little Ken or Barbie doll, and like, well, if I could have like the head of this person and the brains of this person and the body of this person and the heart and soul of this person, and like, nah, we are not, you know, building your makeshift human being based on the past 10 people that you dated to create your, you know, like human golem. You know, you're like the form of this human being that you want. Like, no, we are not doing it for that. So it really depends on what your purpose is. In general, it's not great. Like, none of those other things worked out. They're not a reality. They're not any better. And oh, this is the other thing. If you're comparing him or her with the other him or her here, right? Like her, and you're like, well, she's better here and she's better here. We don't care. The comparison needs to happen between them and you. Are you a match? Are you a better or worse match? In what areas? Where do you connect? That's what we really need to know.
Awesome. What if I like the guy and I want it to work out, but sometimes I feel like dates just don't go the way I want them to progress and flow, and it's just things are staying stationary?
Yeah, we got to speed them up. So like if there's like something there, but you can't get the motion happening, like the motion and the flow of the date builds the emotion. So we've got to get things in motion. So you should go out more frequently. So if you're going out, you know, once or twice a week, you should go out 2 or 3 times a week. You should increase the frequency. And we've got to get to like more deep topics. We've got to get to things. Something came up about things being deep, but not personal. Somebody pointed that out the other day. Like, we could have a deep conversation, but it doesn't actually have to be a personal about me conversation to be a deep conversation. Sit with that for a minute. You'll totally get what I'm saying. But it makes a difference. Like, we no more surface level. Like, get rid of all that surface level stuff. And if that other person is a surface level only person and they can't go deep, yeah, you're going to have a problem building a relationship unless you like surface level relationships.
Awesome. Thank you. How do you differentiate between an irritant and an irritant that might drive you crazy enough that you regret marrying this person?
Yeah. So remember that percentage thing? So like if they do something and I'm like bothered by it a little bit, like we're okay. If I am bothered by it a lot all the time and what they do happens frequently, then yeah, it's going to drive you crazy. So it's the how much it bothers you, it's how often that behavior happens in your relationship and how well you handle it or how not well you handle it that we have to evaluate. If you're asking that question, it probably drives you pretty crazy and we should talk.
I'm just thinking about it because I think part of the process, if it's an irritant that is a red enough flag, right? Meaning red flag as in this might be something that's going to drive you crazy for the rest of your life. And everything else matches up and you decide this is not a red flag that will break this relationship. Part of the process of getting to that point is, like you said, accepting that this is just going to get worse and more pronounced and irritate me more because I'm not going to be in the la-di-da stage. If at that point you still make the decision to move forward with it, to a certain degree, it becomes a choice that in those moments where you're like, I really regret this, it's not like, oh, I didn't see it coming. It's not like you were blinded by anything. It was a very intentional choice.
Right.
That I kind of feel like you almost, if you went through this process properly and you really gave it the amount of time that it needed, then you shouldn't even necessarily be feeling that. It doesn't mean that you won't drive you crazy, but the regret shouldn't necessarily be there. And I think, yes, like I brought this up as one of the questions, but this was something that we had also discussed, like really making sure that you're not just ignoring the red flag. You're not ignoring the irritant. You need to fully accept it. So not just saying like, I'll live with it, but like, this is here. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. How can I deal with it? And I'm just going to throw in like, I think part of it might also be either before you get engaged or even after, what, like finding self-care for me that I could step into during those moments. So like if I know XYZ is it's an irritant, but I don't want it to break this relationship and I'm going to marry this person anyway. When I have those moments, instead of just freaking out or yelling at him or whatever, what am I going to do? I think if you set yourself up in advance and you have something to turn to, whether it's a distraction or like put a little space between the two of you, then you have somewhere to turn to instead of being like, help, I'm stuck, now what?
You have tools because you knew it was coming down the road because, hey, I was aware of this and conscious and I walked into it with my eyes open.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like it. Good answer.
All right. At what point do you decide it's just time to jump into the relationship?
Yeah, when you ask that, like when people ask those questions, I'm like, now's the time, right? If you're asking that, probably because you want permission to jump in and like, you know, like the water's freezing, but you're getting in anyway and you're going to have a good time. Okay, so we answered this. Wait, we talked about this just before this. Did I take notes on this? I had like a really succinct, pulled together answer.
I already forgot the question. I'm like doing a million things. What was the question? Oh, at what point is it time to just jump in? We were talking about it?
Yeah, weren't we talking about this before? Okay.
I remember. By the way, your video's off.
Okay, hold on one second.
Oh, you're looking for something?
No, it jumped to phone. Come back. And you have to throw me host.
Okay, give me a second. You could keep talking though, or not.
Okay, so
this every time. Oh, participants.
Okay, so when is it time to just jump in? So when you go through.
One second, if I throw you host, is it going to stop recording?
Let's pray not.
Okay. Is it
Okay.
recording on your end?
I don't know. I'm throwing it back.
Okay, fine. I'll catch it. Yeah, still recording. Okay.
Okay, great.
You're gone.
Ah, no.
All right, just keep talking.
Just throw it back. So
Yeah.
really, we're going through the values, the irritants, the fears, and the bonuses, which the bonuses we're really leaving off. But if we're going through all of these things, then what we need to do is evaluate them for real. Like when you want to jump in is when you look around the whole world and you're like, people are like, Aleeza, like it could be my person. I mean, maybe, but how do I really know? So what I usually tell people is, first of all, it is so difficult to find your person in the world, right? If you have not found them by now and you meet somebody and you're like, maybe this could be it. So my first question is, have you ever met anybody that you felt this way about? And usually people are like, no, not really. And I'm like, okay, so what are we holding out for? Like maybe missing things from your values, things that people don't have with the irritants, certain fears, like what, there's going to be some things that are going to bother you, but what's really happening? Like this, you just met somebody that's better than other people that you've ever met. Like how many other people do you think exist like that in the world? Let me just tell you. I don't know, like not so many. Like if I told you there were like maybe 2 or 3 other people in the whole world that you would meet that would maybe be this close, are you going to throw away this person to go find somebody else for what? Like what are we missing? So I would ask you, what are we missing? Who else or what else would you be looking for? And when else have you ever found anything even remotely close to this? If you haven't, this is your person. It's time to jump in.
Aleeza, I don't know if you remember you told me this because I've never heard you use this analogy since, but months ago, you told we were talking about this because I was like, I don't know, do I go for this? Do I not? I mean, this is here, but that's not there and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And you were like, okay, you've dated the other kind of person. You're now dating this kind of person and you want to mash up of both of them. I'm like, exactly. And you said, you want a unicorn. And I was like, I guess so, yeah, but maybe unicorns exist. Do they exist? And you're like, they might. No one's ever seen one. We can't prove for sure that they exist, but they might. Who knows?
Well, and I said, and have you ever seen one? And you're like,
right.
No, this combination of what? No, I've never seen it. I've seen this, I've seen this, I've seen this, I've seen this, but I've never seen that. So does that exist? Well, in your reality right now, it doesn't. Like, if a tree falls in the middle of the forest, you're not there to hear it. Does it make a sound? Like, I don't know. But I know that this person doesn't exist in your reality or your universe today.
Okay, I'm going to ask the next question and then I'm going to throw out another thought. We were done with that one, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we got a bunch of people asking, how long do you have to go out before you know? At what point should you know that you want to date them? Do you just like how much do you have to like a person until you're just like, all right, this is it?
Didn't we just answer that?
Did we?
I mean, like you never met anybody you liked them. You never liked yet. How long? Listen, you go as far as you can go. If you're one of those indecisive people, then you're going to have a challenge. Like we're going to have a problem here. Like you're indecisive. There's a challenge that's going on. So you could go on forever like that, but the other person isn't going to stick around for that. So how long can you go on? Only as long as that other person can tolerate waiting for you. Now I've had people wait 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, longer. I've had people wait. There are some people that are waiting years and it is excruciatingly painful to go through something like that. So like, what are we waiting for? And how long is your partner willing to wait? And for you, no, I'm not answering the right question.
I feel like you're answering part of it and repeating what you said before, but I don't know. I don't feel like you're really answering, but when do you know? Like at what point? What do you have to feel? What do you have to, how long should you be dating for? Like if you like them and you enjoy spending time with them, is that enough to say, I want to marry you?
Tell me what's wrong with it. What's not working? Like sounds like it's nice to me. How long have you been going out? So listen, the truth is, wait, I'll show you my book. Get Real, Get Married. I have something in here that is called the due date exercise. DEW. Where'd it go? It's hiding in my drawer over here. By the way, somebody has their hand raised. If you can take that down, just because we're so in my book, this is Get Real, Get Married, Get Over Your Hurdles and Under the Chuppah. You can find it on Amazon if you're interested. In here, I've got a chapter, which is chapter number 20 on page 67. And it talks about the due date. And the due date works like this. Here, I'm going to show you a little bit of a picture here. Let's get close here. DEW stands for dating, engagement, wedding. Okay? So everybody should get out their piece of paper sometime tonight and do this due date exercise. And I'll tell you how to do it. Today, you met the right human being. You know it. They know it. You're like, oh my gosh, this is my person. Oh, wait, sorry, dating. When do you want to start dating? Let's say it's going to be today or tomorrow or next month, or you got something going on right now. Pick a date. Pick a start date for when you want to start dating. Okay? You start dating, maybe you said today. Okay? Now you start dating somebody and they are the perfect person for you. Let's just assume for a minute you actually have clarity. How long do you want to date before you get engaged? Tell me. I don't care what the timeline is. You met the perfect person. You know, they know, everybody knows. You want to date for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, longer than that. How long do you ideally want to date before you get married? People who have never thought about this look at me and they're like, I don't know. I was like, okay, good. So how about 3 months? They're like, oh no. I'm like, oh, okay, how about a year? And they're like, no. I'm like, give me something. So practice the, go, if you don't know what to do, it'd be like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, like count it out for yourself so that you figure it out. That's how you know you get to a comfortable spot. So let's just call it 6 months. Okay. You're going to date for 6 months until you actually know you want to get engaged. And that's going to be a good timing. Now you get engaged. Mazel tov, you're engaged. I'm so happy for you. How long from your engagement to your wedding do you want it to be? Now don't tell me, I don't know again. Go through it. 1 month, 2, 3, 6, 9, a year. Like count it out and then write it down. Now we have a plan. So let's say you decided I want to date for 6 months, then I want to be engaged for another 6 months. Great. That means if you start dating today and you meet your soulmate today, you will be married in 1 year from today. Sound good? Can you do that? DEW that? Yeah? Good. That's how you do the due date exercise. And to me, if you know that beforehand, or even if you're in a relationship, do the due date exercise, have your partner do the due date exercise, and then compare your notes together, and then see where you have to actually like mesh up where you're misaligned. I love that one, by the way. That one makes me so happy.
I know. All right. I just want to throw out another thought. It's not something that we've ever discussed, but I was
really?
actually talking about this. Yeah, no, actually, I was talking about this with my college teacher last night. We were talking about how really at the end of the day, nothing is provable. Like you can't prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt. And at a certain point, most of knowledge is a choice, right? We're not going to get into it now. But she was saying, like, so many people ask me, I'll just as a super easy example, like, we all knew Pluto was a planet until it wasn't. The difference is, like, that doesn't really affect us so much. Like, okay, so it was, now it wasn't. We're not, like, shattered by it. We take it a lot harder when there are things that are more important in our lives, but just that's a concept like of how, we don't know anything for sure. We're basing our choice to know something or not know something based on information that we're getting from other people and whatever. Anyway, side note, she said, so many people ask me, how do I know if this person I'm marrying is my basher? And I know we've discussed it, and you're very much, I don't even remember. You'll tell me what you say. But she just said, like, really, what does it matter? If you are marrying someone that you feel like you could have a healthy long-term relationship with, and you are willing to do the work, really, what does it matter?
Well, it's not even what does it matter. It's they are your soulmate. They become your soulmate because you choose to marry them. And a soulmate is a mate that you marry. That's a soulmate. How does somebody become a soulmate? Marry them.
So that's the question, right? So
yes. That's the deepest
Yes,
of the
but
deep
I
right
think
there.
it is, but I think a lot of people have this Hollywoodized idea
Yeah.
of the bashert is like,
Soulmate.
yeah,
We're soulmate. Yeah. You don't actually know that you're soulmates until you get married. Until then, you're just potential soulmates.
awesome. So really the bottom line is, if you don't know 100% for sure, you're good. Make it work. I mean, like, obviously if everything else clicks, you know what I mean? All right. We got 8 minutes left. Whew. Okay. Sorry, give me 1 second. 1 second.
That's okay. While you're doing that, I'm just going to say that I want to thank our sponsor of this evening, which is Friends of Rabbi Without Walls. Our dear best friend, who of blessed memory passed away a year ago. He just had his first Yurtzeit, the anniversary of his passing, last week. Can you believe it? Last Friday. It's been a week.
Wow.
I mean, it's been a year and a week. And Friends of Rabbi Without Walls, Rabbi Michael Stern, beloved rabbi, dear friend. He was the rabbi at our wedding. He was my partner in talking about relationships and love. I used to call him up and be like, Rabbi, got a few minutes? He'd be like, yeah, what's up? I'm like, I got to work this out. I got this thing. Okay. We go through the whole thing. And then he'd come back. Okay, wait, I got my speech. Can you listen? I got my whole talk. I want to run through the points. Yeah. And like we would be chavrusas and partners in learning through some of the concepts that we were both deeply passionate about, which was always related to love and relationships. So this whole entire class, and we have several classes that are actually dedicated in memory of Rabbi Michael Stern and all of the work that he did with Rabbi Without Walls. So just a heartfelt, in memory, and thank you to the dear friends for sponsoring.
All right. Let's get in a couple more questions. All right. How can the other person I'm with go from liking me to marrying me?
Oh, that's rough. Did they check out this webinar? No, I'm just kidding.
Let's assume no.
Right. So in the same way that you're going through this process of actually knowing somebody, okay, so there's 2 ways. Besides the processing through it and thinking about it, the way that we develop love is by giving to somebody else. So they need opportunities to give to you. I have a client, and right now she's struggling because she's very self-sufficient and she doesn't want to put anybody out. And I said, oh my gosh, nobody has the opportunity to give to you. They can't develop love for you. There's no connection. Like, you stop them. And she's like, I know, I'm not doing it on purpose. I said, I know, but we got to work with this. So we've been working through this whole process that she needs to work on receiving anything. Even it could be a compliment that comes to her that she embraces and says thank you. It could be opening a door. It could be taking her out. It could be walking her home. It could be anything, any part of the process. She needs to be a vessel to receive, because when she is a vessel to receive, somebody else can give, and that's the way that they develop love and a connection for you. So by being a receiver, she's actually the ultimate giver in allowing somebody to connect with her. So that is one beautiful way to really connect with somebody, is to allow them to give to you. So you have to be a vessel for receiving whatever they give to you. And you might be like, but Aleeza, they don't give me anything. No, they do. Don't miss the moment. You've been missing it. You maybe have been turning down these small little things and brushing them to the side. But it's not like, oh, I'll pick you up. No, I'll meet you there. No, let them pick you up. Not because you need them to, because they need to. Okay. So that's the one big, deep thing about developing love and a connection, and being agreeable. It is just so nice and so pleasant to be with somebody who's just easy to be with. So if you're that kind of person that's argumentative and like you say this and I say that, and we've always got this like, oh yeah, and like we go back and forth, like, okay, that's nice, but like, I don't want to be around you 24/7. I want it to be a little bit easier. I want it to be more pleasant, warm. I want there to be some positive interactions with us instead of constant like schmutzing around. So be a little bit more easygoing and easy to be with, because people like to marry, not just easygoing. I don't mean easygoing like you can't have a personality. I just mean not a difficult human being to spend time with. Those are 2 things, but I think that's a really deep question, and like we could do so much more with that. There's a lot there.
All right. What if your values are there logically and you're ready to jump in, you feel safe with the person, everything's all good, but you're just missing that like excitement that you really want?
Good. So take a class on learning how to get excited about life, even when you're not feeling excited. You know who does that really well? Actors, right? They are told how to feel. You are going to get on stage. You are going to be happy. You're going to be over the moon. You're going to be so excited. And all of a sudden they're on stage and there's character. They're supposed to be happy and they're supposed to be excited. And they look and feel excited. You believe it. Oh my gosh, they are in it. Right? Yeah. Right? You have to learn how to have control over your body, over your emotions, over your thinking. You want to be excited, be an excitable human being. If you're the kind of person that gets a job and you're like, oh yeah, I got a job, I'm so happy. Yeah, that's about how you're going to feel when you get married. Oh yay, I'm getting married. Yay, good. It's good, I found my person. Yeah, right? If you want to be excited, be the kind of person that gets excited. I got a job, I got the best job, I got the job that I've been looking for, I'm so happy, and let me share, right? If you're not that excitable personality, you're not going to feel like that in a relationship. And it's not wrong. It's just not for you. And it's not bad. You want that. You have to be that kind of person that knows how to produce that feeling. And you have to be able to produce it, not just in a relationship, but in other areas in your life too.
And I just want to clarify, Aleeza, I'm going to talk for you. Aleeza's not saying that you should be an actor and fake it, but it's find the tools that work for you to be able to bring that into your life, because it's definitely something that you can.
Exactly. 100%. It's not about faking it. It's about, wait a minute. Okay. Can we dig in for a minute? Yeah. You just found your person. You want to be with them. You're going to walk down the aisle. Hello? Why are you not excited? I'm excited for you. You're not excited for what? That you're not excited because there should be a feeling that overcomes you, and all of a sudden it should like burst into a moment of excitement. What's a moment of excitement anyway? Just a moment. It's gone. Now you're just back to your everyday relationship. How are you going to live on that excited level? Well, it takes some serious work. How do you live with a smile on your face every day? You walk around with it. You practice. You build those muscles. You have to build excitement muscles so you know what it looks like and feels like. And you just found your person. Hello, Mazel Tov. I'm so happy for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta feel it. Like,
I'm excited for you now. I want to know when the wedding is.
Tell me, I'll excite you. If you're not excited, I will get you excited.
Seriously. That reminds me, Aleeza, when I called you 2.5 weeks into meeting this guy, and we were just friends at the time, and I was like, I just want to tell you about him just in case I want to date him later on. Might happen. And you were like, okay. And I tell you everything. And you're like, you're going to marry this man. And I was like, excuse me? She's like, and Aleeza's like, yeah, you guys are already dating. And I was like, you're right. But neither of us would acknowledge it.
This is not a friendship. I don't know. This is not, that doesn't exist. This is like a made up story. Like, I'm so glad you're telling you guys your story that like, it makes you happy, but like, this is real. This is for real.
And just for the record, Aleeza has been my dating coach for a while, and she never said that about any other guy. So I was like, oh, I think I'm going to marry him. Anyway. Okay, so we talked about this last week. I think this is going to be our last question. I'm going to do it anyway because it's a good one and it's important. I mean, they're all good and they're all important, but this is super relevant.
You like all of them.
I know. Whatever. If the guy how am I not doing this as a business? I need to be a coach. No, I'm just kidding. We spoke about this already. What if the guy I'm seeing is taking things a bit slower than I would like? If we have 1 date a week, and I like to have 2 or 3 a week so we could get to know each other more. Does this mean we're too different or that he's not interested? Is it considered too forward for the girl to ask the guy to hang out?
It is not considered too forward, not in today's day and age, 50 years ago maybe, but today some men are like, yay. Thank God she asked me out. Like, now I don't have to guess and I don't have to like move it along. For like a guy that wants to have control of the relationship and move it along at his pace, he might be bothered by it. But if it's moving too slow for you, like there's 2 people in a relationship and we do have to get a certain amount of momentum. That's another thing, momentum. So there's a rule here, just so you know, in the beginning, where is it?
3 dates in 10 days.
There you go. 3 dates in 10 days, chapter 25. 3 dates in 10 days when you're first going out with somebody. It's not like you're dating once a week and you'll see each other and whatever. Like, no, this is all about 3 dates in 10 days, like get a momentum going. And then once you're into the momentum, you have to keep it going. So you need to be going out at least twice a week and having some contact here or there to like feel like you're going to be my person and we're going to get something going. If it's going to work, great. We can inch towards making it work. If it's not going to work, then we'll figure it out sooner, and it doesn't just like drag out and there's like no momentum to anything. Like you can't have your head spinning out and thinking all of these stories. Meantime, like you didn't go out long enough to figure these things out. You have to see another person, video, in person, whatever. You have to be in contact with them in order to get to know them. So yeah, you could ask, you could connect, you can try to encourage them, or you can let them know like, oh yeah, like Tuesday, we could talk about that on Tuesday. Like you can drop a hint if you don't want to be direct. You could be direct, like whatever your method is, give it a shot.
Could you also just make a comment about the relationship can only progress as fast as the slowest person?
I love that. That makes me so happy. Yes, we can only go as fast as the slowest person in a relationship. We cannot move any faster. So if I'm going 60 miles an hour and they're going 40, guess what? I'm now going 40 miles an hour. It's not like, oh, we'll meet in the middle and we'll go 50. The slowest person, if they could go any faster, they would. They can't. Right. I'm telling you, they can't. So meet them at 40 and go together down the road at 40. Maybe you'll start to pick up speed as you're together. But if you don't
really
like
annoying, but it's worth it.
And it's really true. You just have to move at that pace if you want to give that person a chance. If you're like, but Aleeza, I can't move at that speed. I go 60. Great. Find another passenger who goes 60, move with them. Don't do it by yourself. Don't do it with this person. They won't ever catch up to you. It's just, you got to start at their speed. If you progress together at a different speed, fine. But you got to match the slowest person in the relationship.
And I just want to add one more thing, just because I wasn't used to this in terms of dating. But my fiance was actually, when we first started dating, he was commuting over an hour back and forth every day for work, which meant, and he carpooled. So everyone took turns driving, and it just meant every time he stayed to go out on a date, it was a hassle. And I felt really frustrated because I was like, dude, could we go out more than once a week? But also it was really challenging to make it work. And it wasn't that he didn't like me, clearly. But it was hard to make all the pieces work. Yeah. And sometimes if you ask, it might just also move things along. Like the only date he ever planned was our proposal. Not all guys are like that, and I was not used to that, but that's how it worked out. I'm just saying, like, there are guys like that.
He's a casual, chill guy.
Yeah, definitely.
With a really big heart.
Oh, okay. So just for the person that said something, that asked about the excitement, so just a little add-on, the excitement that I'm missing is making me doubt if it's the right one. Like, I didn't make the decision already. So Aleeza wasn't saying that you already made the decision.
But I'm saying you should.
Saying, right.
I'm saying you should, because the excitement is an emotion that comes because of a feeling, and like, you know everything else is there. So, okay, so that feeling will come. Maybe when you have your engagement party, maybe you'll feel it. Maybe you won't. Maybe you'll feel it in that quiet moment when you're planning something about the wedding together. Maybe you won't. I don't know when you're going to actually feel it. Feelings are a funny thing. They come, they go, you feel it, you don't. But if everything else is there, then it's going to come.
And I'm just going to say, Aleeza does pay me to be on these webinars. Best money ever. But she does not pay me to say this. I really feel like you might just need one session with Aleeza to hash it out, because I know for myself, just sometimes talking it out and being able to express the doubt and having someone else hear it and be like, no, you're not normal. I mean, you're not crazy. This is normal. And yes, even though you're feeling like that, this still makes sense. But having the opportunity to actually talk it out and hear that, I really feel like one session would.
Right. And listen, it could be that it's really not there. There could be other things that you're not actually bringing to the surface that are actually bothering you, that are something that needs to be talked out and worked out. And so, yeah, we could do that easily in a session or 2, depending on how much stuff or little stuff there is.
Correct.
So maybe that leads us into telling you a little bit about what we do and how to reach us.
Exactly.
Okay, so we love our work as dating and relationship coaches. We work virtually with you, either over the phone or by video. We work with people all over the world. Literally, our calendar booking system, you know, I'm on East Coast time, so it books me at East Coast. If you're on West Coast or you're in Israel or you're in Australia, it doesn't matter. It books to your time zone. So you'll see all sorts of hours there that might look weird to you if you're not in the East Coast time zone. And I have 5 coaches that are on my team, and they each have different amazing qualities about them. So if you want a personality analysis on a Torah Jewish-based system, you could contact Leah. She's been working with a whole bunch of our clients, and they're like, ooh, this is good. It's like a 2-session program. You come away with like some pretty good insights about yourself and who you should look for that might be a really great match and why. So like there's an explanation there for those people that love to wrap their heads around it. If you are looking for some in-depth work and you love, you know, like therapy, but you don't want therapy, you want coaching, but you want like a deep coaching, so you can work with me. You can also work with Alana Brown, who's fantastic and has a really great handle on this and loves the deep inner work. We have Shira and Michael, who work with men and women of all ages, from the 20s through the 60s, anywhere in between, and all religious backgrounds. And we can work on anything. If you're in a relationship, getting in one, getting out of one, getting over one, want to work on your profile, want to just like tweak your dating things that are like, oh, this isn't going well, how can I fix it? We can do that in a couple sessions. It's, you know, like take it one at a time. We have like a over your hurdles package, which is like just sign up for 1 session and give it a shot. And Reagan works with women in their 20s and 30s. She has a fantastic energy, and she just loves helping you navigate the process, the ins and outs of just figuring it out and finding that person and clarifying and working through the process. My personal specialty is older singles. To some people that's 50s, 60s, to other people that's 25, you know, like depends on what crowd you're in. They are all my specialty. And all of us coaches offer a complimentary session for 15 minutes, which is really just an intro, get to know us, ask us any questions that you want to know about the coaching process and to see if we would be a good fit for you. That's free. So you can find that on marriagemindedmentor.com, which you'll find in the comments. And we also have these webinars every Thursday night. We would love to see you next week. Actually, no, the truth is we'd love for you to get engaged, and we'd love not to see you next week. But should you not be engaged by next Thursday, you come back and you will see a Mia, okay? So you could come back and you could hang out with us on Thursday night live. And what am I forgetting?
So we got a couple questions here. How much is a session? So it ranges. Some of the coaches start, I believe, at 75 and work up to 150 for a 45-minute session. Is it possible to do a session anonymously, Aleeza?
Yes. So yes and no. So I don't care. Because I don't care if you put a fake name in there. I need a real phone number or something to contact you, and you have to pay by like credit card. So like, I don't know how you do that anonymously, but like, I don't need to know your real name.
This is not Aleeza telling you to get a fake ID and a credit card under your fake name. Not happen here.
I just mean like you could put in that your name is Joe and your name is really Mike, but when you sign up for a session, the coach will just see Joe and like nobody will see the payment stuff. Like I'll make that disappear, and like, yeah, you can be anonymous. I don't need to know who you are, and our coaches don't need to know either. It's fine.
Okay. And then one last point for the person who just asked about being afraid to show that you're an anxious person. So 2 weeks ago, we did a webinar on top tips for anxious daters. So I'm not sure if that's going to answer your question, but definitely check it out. If it doesn't, then, and you, like you said, you like the person that you're dating, definitely worth booking a session. One of the coaches will be able to walk you through that. And obviously, if it's something that's, you know, important, a big part of your life, then that's something that's going to have to be shared. And the coaches can walk you through that process.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Just grab your complimentary session. Like it doesn't cost you anything except 15 minutes of your time to get to know one of us. Right. And really the team is fantastic. I train them. I only pick good people. I pick good people that I love.
Anything, but they're good.
They're very good because I am very serious about the work that I do, and I'm very serious about having the right people on my team. And you know me, like I'm a soulmate searcher. So I am searching for people that are a very good fit for me and who I am and what I do, and to work with the people that I love, which is all of you. So yeah,
Right.
please sign up. We'd love to see you.
We'll see you next week if you're still single. All
Bye.
right. Have a good night. Aleeza, your host, you're going to
Okay.
sign us off. Good night.
Night.